Hi, I'm Ali.
And I'm Becki.
We are registered dietitians that use functional approaches to whole body health.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about seasonal and environmental allergies, as well as our top supplement recommendations to not only reduce symptoms, but resolve allergies from the root cause. So let's open up here, Ali, and just talk about what allergies exactly are, why they occur in the first place.
Today's video, we're really focusing on not food allergies or allergies to topicals. We're going to be focusing on the environmental. So this is going to be coming from potential air pollutants as well as pollens from tree and grasses, and even things like mold and pet dander. And when we have an allergic response, it's an IgE mediated response where the immune system makes an antigen-antibody relationship. So an antigen is a protein compound from one of those compounds like mold, dust, mites, or pollens. And when our immune system is exposed to this antigen, it makes an antibody relationship. Johns Hopkins Medical Center actually notes that allergies are a disorder of the immune system. So when an individual experiences an allergic reaction, they have an excess response of mast cells, which put out histamines and drive chronic inflammation in the body that's not otherwise managed, and it's responding to something that would otherwise be harmless.
And some of the common symptoms, I think we're all too familiar with: the sneezing, itchy eyes, runny nose, that excessive mucus production, and really ear, nose, and throat focused areas. So looking at things like ear infections or feeling like we've got water in the ears or we're literally like underwater when we have allergies. Everything from that to brain fog, irritability, hives, even exacerbated asthma.
Yes. And allergies can be driven through an anatomical impact, like having nasal polyps or deviated septum. And we can also see those that have a history of asthma or reactive airway disease to have more of an allergic response. But we see a huge trend with stress and trauma. The reason for this is that our adrenal glands, which are the primary gland in our body that responds to a fight or flight symptomatic nervous system response or a stressor, that adrenal gland actually over time can get burned out. And the cortisol hormone that's made by the adrenal gland is a natural antihistamine. So we see individuals that relocate to a new place for a job or go through a gnarly divorce, often starting to see some higher exacerbated allergy response because of this adrenal imbalance or insufficiency. So stress is a big one that we look at managing. We also look at gut health. And gut health can be a two-part element as well. With leaky gut, an individual is already going to have kind of a high pollen response from that gut-blood barrier. So food allergies or food inflammatory sensitivities from leaky gut can drive a higher inflammatory response. And then the seasonal allergen is just tipping over that iceberg and driving more of that chronic inflammation. And then the gut can also be an issue with dysbiosis, because we see when there's an imbalance in our gut bacteria, if we don't have enough good probiotics or we have an overgrowth of candida, yeast, or a dysbiotic flora, that this can create dysregulation of our mast cells and can create that excessive histamine response with fermentation going on in the belly. Another thing to consider is those with autoimmune disease states, which already have a hyperreactive immune response, or those who have a weakened immune system. And often with weakened immune system, we can see individuals that have poor sleep habits and poor nutritional status, so nutrient deficiencies, which we'll cover those when we get to supplements. The last thing I would note as an area of risk factor for allergies is life cycle. So both in our pediatrics, that's why we see chronic rhinitis, the kids that are always having the gunky noses, all the way through elderly at both spectrums of the aging process. In the elderly population, they tend to have muscle wasting and they tend to have less of a favorable immune response. And then even in pregnancy, we've seen pregnant women that their immune system is actually suppressed, which helps with the healthy carrying of a baby, but that can drive more allergic response. And this is concerning because a lot of the over-the-counter allergy medications are not safe for pregnant women. But the supplements we'll talk about today, most of them are.
let's dive right in with some of the supplement recommendations. And the thing to note here is using some of these supplement and food as medicine strategies to resolve allergies. We're going to be getting more to that root cause of why we're having that overreactivity in the first place versus some of the over-the-counter solutions like the antihistamines, the corticosteroids, the nasal inhalants that are going to likely drive further symptoms and not get to that root cause and not be safe for long-term use. So our first one of focus would be our GI lining support, and this speaks to that influence on leaky guts. We use GI lining. It's got glutamine, deglycerized licorice, and a little bit of aloe. This is going to aid in healing and sealing that gut lining. And then we're also looking at supporting the GALT, or the gut-associated lymphatic tissue, where our immune system of our gut truly resides.
Yes. And I think when we think of immune health, we also go immediately to vitamin C. There are so many research studies out there that demonstrate the impact of vitamin C as being antiviral or helping to regulate the immune response to inflammation, as well as harnessing or supporting a healthy immunological response to that antigen-antibody relationship. So when we're looking at our BioC+, the thing to note here is you are getting a good, robust dosage of vitamin C per capsule, 600 milligrams, and this is sourced from acerola cherry, which is a whole food form of vitamin C that's very easy to absorb and doesn't create the GI stress that some other powdered or vitamin C capsules have. What's more is our BioC Plus has rutin and quercetin. Quercetin has been shown in research studies as a great allergy reducer, reducing rhinitis or runny nose, as well as sneezing and histamine reactivity, including all of the undesirable stuff. And we see that quercetin can reduce excessive mast cell response.
And then spirulina, which is a fun add-in to green smoothies, is a blue-green algae that has been shown in randomized controlled trials to reduce symptoms of rhinitis, discharge, congestion, and itching. So that could be added at about a teaspoon or so a day during allergy season.
So maybe not an oral supplement, but when we're thinking about reducing seasonal allergies, we want to keep things lubricated and hydrated. So this is a saline nasal spray, which also includes an antimicrobial from grapefruit seed extract. This is the Xlear. And so this would be sprayed maybe before going for a hike outdoors and then sprayed once coming home. You also would consider ensuring that you're showering to wash off your body, taking off that coat, leaving your shoes by the front door so you're not walking in all that environmental antigen into the household. And household filters would be something to consider as well.
Sure, and then like neti pot to do that nasal rinse
Yes.
at beginning and end of your day is a great tool too.
Absolutely.
And then our adaptogen boost, we love this one, as you guys know, just to help with that stress response, as Ali mentioned, the connection of the adrenals to seasonal allergies. But this also has a focused ingredient, cordyceps, which the cordycepin compound in the cordyceps has been shown to reduce mast cell activity. And it's also been seen in traditional Chinese medicine to aid in respiratory health, especially in the SARS type of virus, reducing infection and fibrosis in the lungs.
Yeah, so not only does it reduce the severity of the infection, it actually protects your lung tissue while mitigating that stress response. So definitely a powerhouse there. And then I think maybe the one that I really go to as an expectorant for someone that's dealing with a lot of phlegm in the respiratory tract is the cellular antiox. This has two powerhouse ingredients, N-acetylcysteine, which has actually been shown in clinical trials to reduce the eosinophils. This is a type of a white blood cell that drives that histamine and mast cell response. So again, that inflammatory reaction to the exposure. NAC, or N-acetylcysteine, is also an expectorant, which breaks down and thins mucus and phlegm. And then glutathione in here is the grandmama antioxidant, so the highest known antioxidant out there. And we've seen in research studies that glutathione levels are inversely related with chronic fatigue as well as respiratory stress. And optimizing your glutathione can support healthy respiratory function.
And then doing something like bone broth as a food form of NAC, I think would be a fantastic option as well to help kind of break up some of that coat the throat. And then finally, our vitamin D balance blend. So this is a blend of 5,000 IU of vitamin D along with K1 and K2 to aid in absorption and regulation of vitamin D. So vitamin D has actually been shown in studies to have an inverse relationship, meaning the better your vitamin D status is, the less rhinitis or kind of runny nose type of symptoms that you would see. And vitamin D is also going to provide systemic support for our immune system and help to regulate that excessive inflammation that's seen in seasonal allergies.
So all of these different tools that we've discussed have, as you can see, influence on reducing histamine, regulating inflammatory response, and supporting a robust, healthy immune system. But what's more is that they provide other impacts on functional levels in the body, like the vitamin D also is going to support testosterone and insulin sensitivity to regulate your blood sugar response. In the adaptogen boost, we're also going to see antidepressant and hormone regulating effects in the rhodiola in there. In our spirulina, we see mood and memory enhancement and brain health effects. In our BioC+, we see that vitamin C also tonifies the cortisol and adrenal response, aiding in that fight or flight stress impact. And in the GI lining, not only does that reduce allergies, but it also seals that gut to reduce food sensitivity and overall inflammation.
So these would be fantastic tools that we really could use for all of those reasons all year round, or specifically pulse them up, especially that C, adaptogen boost, and cellular antioxidants during that allergy flare.
So if you liked today's video and you learned something new about a functional approach to seasonal allergies, give us a like button and make sure you subscribe, because next week we will be sharing a hot toddy, which is a food as medicine highlight of different ingredients that will support and enhance your immune health and especially help to relax you during a time of seasonal allergies, help you sleep better through the night.
So this is kind of a fun green powder that I've used a lot in like green smoothies and things like this. It's a fun green powder.